If you're a fan of Japanese gaming from the late 80s to the early 90s, you might be familiar with a certain video game company called JaJaMaru-kun. They published a lot of games for the NES and Famicom, Game Boy, Super Nintendo, and other consoles, and even games for the arcade. Well, their most famous character from their growing library at the time was one that we didn't see a lot of over here in North America, that being Ninja JaJaMaru. Yes, the Ninja JaJaMaru series, starring JaJaMaru, a ninja with big eyes, was actually pretty popular in Japan, with the game titled Ninja JaJaMaru-kun becoming so popular it sold nearly 1 million units in Japan alone for the Famicom. That's pretty impressive stuff in the mid-80s. That game spawned several sequels and spin-offs throughout the late 80s into the early 90s. For years, the majority of these games never saw the light of day here in North America, nor an official translation, until now. Yes, a ton of Ninja JaJaMaru games are finally getting released in North America for consoles, 8 games in all. That brings me to today's video, where I have not only one game to review for you, but actually 8 games in total across a number of game collections. I want to give some special thanks to NN Games for lending me some review codes to check out everything, and of course, I'll be sharing my honest opinions with everything with you today. Just before we dive into the reviews, if you have played any of these games before, feel free to share your thoughts down below. I'm curious to see if anyone has played a Ninja JaJaMaru game before. Anyway, with that all out of the way, let's kick things off with the brand new game in the JaJaMaru series, one that you can purchase by itself or in a game collection that I'll be talking about later in the video. Ninja JaJaMaru, the Great Yokai Battle Plus Hell, is an arcade-style game that has you playing as one of 20 plus available characters, including JaJaMaru, through various stages, trying to eliminate all the enemies in the stage, while of course, scoring as many points as possible. This is a game that is easy to pick up and play. You move with your chosen character with the D-pad or left joystick. The B button is the attack button, and the A button jumps. There's power-ups to obtain that can assist you in defeating enemies or increase your score, as well as cherry blossom petals that you can collect that can allow you to play a bonus stage. There's even bosses in this game that sometimes you'll have to defeat in order to clear a stage. For those who have played the game Ninja JaJaMaru-kun, the Famicom game I mentioned early in the video, well, this game is very much like a modern take of that one. The only major difference from that classic game is the fact that this features 2-player local co-op play, which is a big plus in my book. As you attempt to clear the stages, you'll gain golden beads and souls that drop from the defeated enemies that will allow you to unlock various things like artwork, new music, and new playable characters. These characters you unlock will have different stats and abilities, like different attacks, higher or lower damage output, higher or lower HP, different movement speeds, and more. I like this game a lot. It's a modern arcade take on what made the series fun, and it keeps you wanting to come back to play one more stage. A lot of your playtime is going to come to wanting to not only unlock everything, but also to try out each and every character to see if you can better your score. Speaking of those unlockables, win or lose, you'll always earn stuff to add to unlocking something, so even if you fail a stage, it is not a complete loss of your time. I like that. In addition, there's achievements too to unlock, which is another nice set of goals to strive for. This game gets a recommend from me. It's on the eShop for $19.99, which I feel is worth it for sure, but you can nab this with the following game collection I'll be talking about in physical form for just $29.99, which is a good value to keep in mind, especially if you like the following games I'll be talking about. So in addition to the newer game, there's a classic game collection that includes 5 games from the JaJaMaru series: Ninja JaJaMaru-kun, Ninja JaJaMaru's Big Adventure, Ninja JaJaMaru's The Great World Adventure, Ninja JaJaMaru Operation Milky Way, and Super Ninja Kid. The first game, Ninja JaJaMaru-kun, was developed first for the Famicom, which is the version we get here. This was an incredibly popular game for the system in Japan, selling nearly 1 million units by early 1986. It is an action platformer that's very arcade-like, where you need to guide JaJaMaru in defeating all the yokai and enemies to advance to the next stage, while of course scoring as many points as possible, and in the bonus stages, saving Princess Sakura. There's power-ups to obtain, as well as souls and other items to get to increase your score. It's a pretty fun and addicting game, even if it's not the most complex game for the Famicom. The next game, Ninja JaJaMaru's Big Adventure, takes some inspiration from the success of Super Mario Bros. And takes the JaJaMaru-kun gameplay and puts it in a side-scroller action platformer. This time, you don't need to defeat everything, you just need to reach the goal at the end of the stage. Now, in between every main stage, you will need to face 1 or 2 bosses that you will need to defeat by throwing your ninja stars in an upward direction at the enemy. And then the process repeats, of course, with different stages and harder enemies. I find this game okay, though I do prefer the first game myself to this one. The third game in the collection, Ninja JaJaMaru, The Great World Adventure, marks its first portable entry in the series. This actually has 2 versions in the collection, the original release and a colorized version, which is brand new, it's never been released before. Beyond colors, both are the same game. Now this game takes after the second game in the series, being a side-scrolling action platformer. The big difference though, is with the souls you collect, it actually helps power up your life count, which if you're good at the game, you can get it as high as $9.99, which allows you to take many hits before you get a game over. For the most part, I do find this game to be very easy, and once you figure out the game, and the patterns of the attacks and the enemies and the bosses and such, you'll plow through this one. I actually beat this on my 3rd attempt. Still though, I do like it, even if it's an easy game. Ninja JaJaMaru Operation Milky Way is probably the one game that, the RPGs aside, feels the most far removed from the core style of the series. This one takes after more of the later NES and Famicom platformers, like Super Mario Bros. 3. Here, Ninja JaJaMaru and Princess Sakura are both playable, but they look very different and play very different from the other games in the series. You don't even have weapons at the start when you play this game. You can get them through power-ups from hitting blocks, and your primary way of defeating enemies will be jumping on them, Mario style. There's also a charge ability that allows the characters to reach far platforms and make jumps. Keep this in mind, as you need it to reach the portals to progress in the game, which actually took me a while to figure out. One of the things I wish this collection had was instructions of some sort for each game, as I had to look up a video for this game to even figure out what to do. The game is just not as intuitive as I'd like, but that aside, once you figure it out, it is an interesting game in the collection, and it's still fun, even if it doesn't feel like Ninja JaJaMaru proper. Super Ninja Kid might be my favorite game from the collection, this one being the lone 16-bit game for the Super Famicom. This one is a scrolling action platformer too. This one will have you going in all directions, up and down, left and right, and vice versa, as opposed to just left to right with traditional platforming. As you play, you'll gain more abilities than the standard ninja star weapon, and you'll fight off various bosses and such. The gameplay is great in this one. It's excellent, with plenty of secrets to find in each stage, and the bright, colorful graphics are a nice touch too. This is the highlight of the collection for me. The collection was developed by Ratalakia Games, and has a lot of the same features like other collections from them that I've covered on the channel. There are save states, up to 6 for each game, rewind features, and graphic filter options, including ways to give it a CRT look. In addition, there are cheats you can select before starting in each game in the cheat menu options, which is a nice bonus if you want to cheat. I do like the collection for the most part. The first game is a Famicom classic, and I like how they gave the Game Boy game a new colored version, and Super Ninja Kid is a blast. Also, the collection is only $14.99 by itself, so $15 for 5 classic games. It's not a bad deal at all, especially when you look at other collections that go for a lot more than that price. For those looking to save a little bit more, or just like physical games, the collection is included as a bonus and the physical version of JaJaMaru, the Great Yokai Battle plus Hell for North America at an MSRP price of $29.99. It's totally worth it. But wait, there's more. There's another collection to talk about, a 2-game RPG collection that covers the Famicom JaJaMaru RPG games. This is a big deal, as these games have never been released in English before until now. The collection is exclusive to the eShop, and it's priced at $12.99. Ninja JaJaMaru, the Lost RPGs, include Ninja JaJaMaru, the Ninja Skill Book, a turn-based RPG for the Famicom, and Ninja JaJaMaru, The Legend of Golden Castle, the second RPG from the series, which this was for the Famicom as well, but this is an action RPG. The first game, Ninja JaJaMaru, the Ninja Skill Book, seems inspired by Dragon Quest and the early RPGs for the Famicom. It's a okay game in my opinion. It's just hard to play, because it's just very tedious, and the text is so slow in battles and such, that if you're not used to that, or have the patience for it, it might drive you a little bit crazy. It's just very much a product of its time. Luckily, there's ways to make this game and the next game a bit easier to play. There's enhancements that allow you to get increased gold, more EXP, and have less encounters and such. I do suggest checking these out, especially for the first game, as it makes the experience a whole lot less tedious. In addition, there is a full-on cheat menu if you need, and there's a blessing menu that can be accessed in-game that allows you to restore HP and such without breaking the game too much. The second game though, Ninja JaJaMaru, The Legend of Golden Castle, is one that I feel is a much better game, as it is more of an action RPG that is more in the style of the Zelda games, at least with the combat, as you attack enemies and explore in a similar style to those games. There's a map that allows you to travel from area to area, and you complete goals and tasks and such to advance in your mission. This game is just a lot more fun to play, I feel, and it's easier to get into. It's just much less tedious than the first one. In addition to the cheats, blessings, and enhancement options for each game, there are visual filters, save state options, and the other features just like the previous collection I talked about earlier. Now this is $12.99, so you're paying nearly as much as the 5-game collection, which I imagine is because of the translation work that had to go into the games, but it's still a bit of a hard sell. I'm glad they did it from a classic gaming standpoint, but I feel most will grow frustrated at how tedious the first game is. And while the second game is much better, it basically means that you'll be paying the price for just one game if you don't like the first one. I would only go after this collection if you're a hardcore classic gaming enthusiast or like the JaJaMaru series and want all the games. But there you go, that is a lot of JaJaMaru games I've talked about today. Just some final thoughts before I go. I love the new game. I think that's one that anyone can pick up and enjoy. The retro collection is solid, especially for the price point, and the fact that you can get it with a newer game in a cheap physical package if you want it. The Lost RPGs collection is more of a curiosity, I feel, but for those who love old school RPGs and are willing to put up with the quirks of those types of games. I appreciate that these games are finally coming out in North America, and I'm glad the series is finally available for all gamers to enjoy. These games should be available on February 21st, both on the eShop and the physical in stores on the same date, so look out for it. If you liked the video and the reviews today, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, so you don't miss out on any future videos. If you're looking for more game reviews for the Switch, I got some videos for you to check out at the end of this video that you can click on. But for now, that is all from me today. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you.